What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the best show on a Friday night. Welcome back to Hockey Stick Talk Nation, the first episode of the new year. Why not bring it in with a little hurricane warning? Like always, we want to give a big shout out to my guest for being here, Zach Martin from Locked On Hurricanes. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me on. Always ready to talk hockey and just, ready to have a Friday night of just talking puck.
Awesome. We can't wait. We have some great people in the chat. We'll give a quick shout out to everyone who's popping in here. Give a shout out to Robert for coming in. Thanks, Robert. Shout out to Matthew. Dewey, great as always to see you, Dewey. Scrolling down here. We got my good friend from across the pond in England, Goza. What's going on, Goza? We got autograph fisherman John Burgess in the house. And that's where we're at for right now. So thank you all for coming and being here. Appreciate it. So as always, we want to give a big shout out to our sponsor on the show. We'll bring it up here. Everything's a little slow right now. We're getting a snowstorm. So shout out to Tsunami Sportscards for sponsoring the show. If you guys are looking to buy single hockey cards for your collection or anything else for your collection, go check out Tsunami Sportscards on eBay. If you use the code DMHockey88 you can save 25% off your first order. And he's also got the code Tsunami25 sale all month long. Using this code, you buy 5, you get 2 free. So definitely go check him out. And he's shipping to Canada too. So just leave it in the notes that you live in Canada and he'll ship it by letter mail. So definitely go check him out. And as we do, we'll pop right into our next slide here. As we have Zach on from the Hurricanes, we're talking about the top 5 Hurricane prospects. And who better than to have a Hurricane expert on here with us to talk about these. So, Zach, what can you tell us a little bit about each of these prospects we got up here?
Yeah, of course, Alex Akishin, over there in the KHL, actually just got his 100th assist with Ska recently. So everyone's really excited for him to come over to to North America. I know that from what Eric Tulsky is saying is the fact that once his contract's up in the KHL, they're gonna sign him and bring him over. So they just gotta wait for his season to be done, which is right around May-ish. So I know a lot of people are kind of clamoring for spring, but we're probably going to be seeing him maybe 25, 26 more than anything else. Bradley Neto, unfortunately, I know Canada just got knocked out of the World Juniors, but did get a couple assists in the last game. So he's been playing really well and also doing really great in Chicago too. So can't go wrong with that. Scott Morrow, same thing, really good defenseman in Chicago. I know a lot of people are talking about possibly him making the jump next year to the Canes as well, because I know we got Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov's contracts coming off the books. So there's a lot of people are clamoring for Scott Morrow, just like Alex Akishin. Jackson Blake, 8 goals on the season, been playing with the Hurricanes since game 1 of opening night. He's playing really well, and even with playing bottom 6 minutes. So, and, power play too as well. So, yeah, he's been putting some pretty good numbers, and, someone who's, kind of getting a real first taste in the league after, putting up 60 points and was a Hobie Baker finalist with North Dakota last year. Good to see how he's been playing. And then Felix Unger-Sorum, played for Sweden in the World Juniors, been playing really well over there. And, another guy who's been doing pretty solid with the Chicago Wolves in his first season in North America after coming over from the SHL. Yeah, definitely the top is a really good top 5 of just guys I know a lot of people are definitely excited for.
Definitely. And you think we'll see most of them, if not few, next year for the Hurricanes?
I would say probably. I know Jackson. Well, obviously we're seeing Jackson Blake this year. I could probably see. I know a lot of people are. I know there's a lot of talks of trying to get Morrow into Keisha with the Hurricanes next year. So there's probably another 2. Sorm, I would probably see another year in North America, or down in the AHL, just because of the fact that he's still getting used to North American puck. So we're probably going to see him in Chicago. He might get a call up next year. Nadeau, If he does well out of camp, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him as well. But I know at least most likely it's probably going to be Nikishin, Morrow, and Blake next year for sure, more than anything else. But hey, you never know. You might get a surprise out of Neto at least.
Definitely, because he turned a lot of heads for Team Canada. I know that for sure.
Yeah, he definitely did. I know a lot of people were kind of like, why him? But hey, man, if you put up over 100 points in Penticton and then go to Maine and have the most points and goals and assists for a guy since like I think it was 06, 07. So yeah, turning a lot of heads in the NCAA after playing really well in the BCHL up there in British Columbia. So can't go wrong with that. So.
Just a quick shout out to Maiden's World Wax for coming in, and Hammy and Sons and Barry. Thank you all for popping in. Appreciate it. So we'll scroll on over to our next one. So we got the hockey news, Friday night hockey news here. So Matthews is practicing again, hoping to be back this week. From what I've been reading, though, I think it might be better for the Leafs just to put him on IR till he's fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's already missed a few games. I mean, they're still chugging along from what I've been seeing. So it's like at that point, it's like why really rush him back? Because I mean, if you're doing pretty solid in the Atlantic, why rush him back and just get him ready for the stretch run? Because you got 4 nations coming up in like a few weeks. Just give him some time to fully rest up, and then if he's ready to go before then, great. If not, hey, you got after that break, and then you got that little bit of a run before the trade deadline, and then you got the playoffs. So yeah, it just makes sense. Like, why rush him back when you already feeling good about how your playoff chances are going to be?
Definitely. And then we have the Blues beat the Hawks in the outdoor game. That was I watched a little bit of it, but it really didn't interest me a whole lot like most of the outdoor games.
Yeah, that was when you give up 2 early power play goals and then you kind of get back into it, but then the second period just kind of goes downhill from there. That's definitely tough scenes when you go, you're 0 for 5 in the Winter Classics, and now it's 1 for 6, I think, overall. So yeah, that's it's kind of tough to put up a stinker like that in what would be probably a huge event. So yeah, it's kind of tough.
And then this year's number 1 overall pick, supposedly Schaefer, who got injured in the Canada game, is going to be out 3 months after surgery. So that could dwindle his spot a little bit.
Yeah, possibly. I'm curious to see how all that's going to shake up after his, when he comes back and stuff like that, and just how much season's left.
And then we got a nice quote here from Zach Jones. I'm riding away, as he was a healthy scratch again for the New York Rangers, who are an absolute dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not making on the main roster for a team that's kind of having a tough go, especially being last in the Metro, yeah, that's I could definitely sense why there'd be some frustrations there.
Definitely, and it almost seems like another Capo Caco type thing where he's calling it out, and we might see Zach Jones get traded, which I hope not, because he is a great player if he can get the time.
Yeah, right, for sure. I mean, at this point, what are you really hurting for? If you got some young guys that you want to take a look at, just play them. There's no point in wasting them as a healthy scratch. If not, then just send them to Hartford, at least let him get some ice time or something.
Yeah, and then the Sharks' Mark-Edward Vlasic makes his season debut against the Lightning last week, so that's great to see him back. I don't know what the Sharks' plans are for him, if they'll keep him or if they'll try to move him in the offseason.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of curious how they're going to play that out too, just for the fact that he's missed the first 3 months of the season. I guess it all depends on how the rest of the year goes, and maybe if they want to keep him. If not, yeah, like you said, there's always something in the offseason.
Then the Blackhawks called up Colton Dach, Kirby Dach's brother, so that'll be interesting to see because he did really well for Team Canada, I think, a couple of years ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how he'll do on the Hawks where his brother played.
Yeah, it's pretty cool for the fact that you got the brothers kind of going up against each other in his debut. I mean, big body, someone who can probably crash the net. And, he's been doing pretty good in Rockford, so not a bad call up just to give someone an extra look, and the fact that you can do it in a game with your brother, because I know Montreal was already in town, so you already got their dads in town too, so be able to have a kind of like a small family gathering before the game tonight. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and this one was right out of nowhere. The Stars got fined for practicing on the 26th of December.
Oh yeah. Part of the CBAs, you're not allowed to grant players access to the ice during the break. So yeah, it was actually an optional skate. So yeah, that's where the Stars kind of goofed, is the fact that like, oh yeah, the guys want the ice. Well, you can't give it to them. Like that's just part of the CBA. So yeah, that's but I mean it's $100,000. That's like a drop in the bucket for a team like that. So it's,
And to it read, it wouldn't have been bad, but they had a coach on the ice. They could have kind of played it a little bit differently as long as they didn't have a coach, but they had a coach on the ice, and that's what really set it off.
Yeah. And CBA is there for a reason.
Yeah. And then we have a debut, or the Flyers, Samuel Ersson is out day-to-day with a lower body injury. So that's another goalie down for the Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, they're already having a tough season as it is, and now you're kind of losing your 1A, essentially. Yeah, definitely. Now you're kind of having to, rely for someone coming from Lehigh Valley to kind of be your backup to the backup, essentially.
And then today, Mark Kaslik signed a 3-year AAV for $1.57 million with the Bruins, which I think is a really good pickup for them.
Oh yeah, solid pickup. Can't go wrong with that. And honestly, the term isn't bad either, and even the AAV. I mean, you'll take a sub $2 million to sign a guy for a few years and see how he does. So yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah, and then Philip Myers signed a 2-year AAV for $85K with the Leafs. I think that's just backup insurance in case someone goes down, because he's a big body on the defense.
Yeah, like you said, just depth insurance. And honestly, I mean, like I said, term and AAV, still not bad either. So yeah, so you can never have too many extra bodies just in case. And most likely he'll probably be in with the Marlies. So yeah, not bad at all.
Now we'll move on to our next one here, which is our players to watch for the Kitchener Rangers this season. So just a little update on these guys. So Cameron Reed has played 35 games, 6 goals, and 24 assists for 30 points. Then we got Luke Romano, who's played 34 games, 14 goals, 17 assists for 31 points. And then we have Tanner Lane, who's played 34 games, 7 goals, and 20 assists for 27 points. So these are guys that we're watching throughout the season right up till their draft year to see where they'll get drafted for the NHL, which we're kind of hoping to see.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's always good, to see some, young guys play really well and, almost close to the point per game and, giving themselves a better stock for their draft year. So, yeah, always good to see, guys like that kind of succeeding when, they're being able to get ready for a draft.
Definitely. And we've had Mike Farwell on, who's the play-by-play announcer for the Rangers, told us a little bit about each player. And he said the one player he would really like everyone to focus on is going to be Cameron Reed, the big defenseman.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with having some big defensemen who can, lay some bodies and, put up the points when need be. So, yeah, not bad at all.
So that's our Ranger watch. We move on to our next one, and this is the top 5 fantasy league as of yesterday morning. So we have Land Krakens in the lead with number 1. I've got Krebs in at number 2. Hams Panthers in at number 3. Number 4, we have Deep Diggers. And number 5, we have Slappy. So that's your update for the fantasy league I'm in. And currently I'm sitting at 12th place. But that's due to injuries.
Yeah, that's definitely been hit with the bug myself too on my fantasy teams. Yeah, it's tough when you have a lot of IR slots and a lot of guys are going down. So, yeah.
And it doesn't help when Igor Shesterkin is your number 1 goalie and not playing well.
Yeah, about that.
So that doesn't help us out at all either.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give another shout out to Hammy and Sons for popping in, and Paul in the 619. Thanks, guys, for coming. Appreciate it. And then we'll move on to our next slide here, which is our trades and rumors. So, to no surprise, we have Mika, who's going to waive his no trade clause, which should have happened years ago. I think the Rangers should have got rid of him years ago, but hopefully we can find a suitor for him. And I think if he does go to somewhere else, he will probably find the Mika he used to be. I just think he's overplayed in New York now.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising with the fact of just like going from President's Trophy to now it's like you lose Truba, you're talking, you lose Kako. Now you're talking about, Chris Kreider's available. Now Mika's waiving is no trade. Yeah, it's just, it seems like it's an implosion of a team that really shouldn't be selling off their roster. But yeah, that's definitely one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of package the Rangers do get if they do trade Mika and who's, going to be that person.
Definitely. And yeah, I think from what I hear, everybody's available on the Rangers. There's no untouchables besides probably Shesterkin.
Yeah, we kind of, outside of being on IR, it's be kind of tough to probably move a $11.5 million contract for a goalie. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Dig for coming in, Jay's Mix, Sydney Cat. Thank you guys all for stopping in. Appreciate it. Then we have the Canucks are listening to offers on Pettersson and Miller. And what I find interesting is I've been hearing Keandre Miller to the Canucks for a Pettersson deal.
I mean, I'm curious to see what kind of total package that would be too, because I don't think there's probably gonna be a lot of extra additions and sweeteners and probably all that too. Because I think Pettersson's got a pretty hefty contract on top of his too, so it's. And especially if you're looking at the Rangers, I'm kind of curious, like, why would you want to go pick up Pettersson when if you're looking at a rebuild, like, I know he can probably help in some cases, but like what's the timeline for the Rangers? If they are they going to try to speed up a rebuild or not have one, and maybe just try to bring in new bodies to go around everyone else? So yeah, I'm curious to see, how that would work out if Pettersson does get traded to the Rangers.
Yeah, because it was talk about Pettersson or Miller going back, but I think Miller's too old to go back for the Rangers if they're going to rebuild.
Yeah, Miller may be a little bit too old, and with Pettersson, because you got to take that contract, then who else are you going to give up to get him? And I'm curious to see why the Canucks will want to move on from a guy they just got an extension for. I know he's had some struggles here and there over the last couple seasons, but you're talking about a core that has Quinn Hughes, Besser, Pettersson, guys like that. So it would just be it'd be weird to kind of give them one of your guys you kind of essentially drafted and developed, and you've had last year's playoff run. So I don't know.
And then I see there's another going around O'Reilly and Shen linked to the Leafs again, but that one makes sense because those are Craig Berube type players.
Oh yeah, 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if the Leafs try to find a way to get them. We all know that those guys really like training with each other, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get O'Reilly and Shen for another reunion and see how that goes. Because right now with Matthews out, and they're I know they're trying to figure out what their roster is right now too. So it's I would not be surprised if they find a way to get those guys.
And then Buffalo, the other dumpster fire in New York there. Byram Cousins are on the trade block for the Sabres, which I'm surprised about Cousins because he's a really good player.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised about Cousins. Yeah, because another one of those guys that they drafted, they brought him up and developed him. So I think it's kind of crazy they would try to think about even moving him now when he's got, I know he's got some value, but it's, I don't know. It's just it doesn't make any sense to get rid of a young guy like that when you also got, all the other guys you got up with them as well on that young core. And Bo and Byron, they just traded from, I think it was before the last trade deadline. So given, putting him on the block too, like that's, I don't know, that's kind of tough scenes to get rid of, one guy you traded for not even a full year later, and then you have one of your guys that you drafted and brought up. And I know they're in tough straits, but still.
Yeah, definitely. And then one of the biggest news I found from today is Jonathan Toews is skating again, which is great to see for Jonathan Toews, and he's drawing interest from 3 teams: the Leafs, the Jets, and the Avalanche.
Yeah, because I know you had a GQ article come out a little bit ago, and I know that's kind of talking about going to India for about 5 weeks or so and trying to figure out digestive stuff and trying to deal with the long COVID that they had to deal with too. So it's great to see that he's trying to find a way to come back. And I mean, I'm not really surprised that it's those three teams because him being from Winnipeg makes sense because they're always looking for a guy. I mean, at Colorado, they always love to get an extra veteran. Guy's been there and done that, won 3 cups with the Hawks. So yeah, I mean, not bad either. And I'm not really surprised with the Leafs either because they'll try to go for anyone that's been there and you can kind of add a little bit of leadership. So if it works out, that's great for him because I know he's been really dealing with a lot since I know definitely around 2020 and then especially he hasn't played since 23. So yeah, hopefully he makes it back. So
and it'll be interesting to see where he does go and how long it's going to take him to adjust again.
Yeah, I could. Excuse me. Yeah, I could definitely see probably be a little bit of a learning curve for the fact that, like I said, he hasn't played since the end of 22-23, going on a couple of years now, and it's just like, what's his speed going to be like? How's the physicality going to be? How's his body going to take it? So, yeah, I'm very curious to see. It also depends on where he goes to, and where they kind of slot him. Do you put him top 6? Do you put him bottom 6? Do you put him in the top 9? Are you going to put him on special teams, or are you kind of slowly integrate him back into the system? So I think with the right team, I think they'll find a way to kind of ease him back in and not be like, all right, we're going to throw you out there for 17, 18, 19 minutes a night. I can see more of 12, 13, kind of slowly build you back into it. So that way they're not, just being like, all right, going from nothing to something in 5 seconds.
I wonder if it'd almost benefit him to play a year in the AHL and then come up.
I could see that being a possibility. It's just I'm kind of curious to see if he would want to do that. And like I said, it depends on the organization too. And I guess because I know some travel in the AHL is kind of crazy, especially depending on what division you're in too. If you're in the Pacific, that travel's insane with how big that division is. So I don't know. I could see that being an option too, being like, hey, we're going to give you a few months in the A, kind of get acclimated and go back from there. So yeah, definitely a good possibility as well.
Definitely. So now we're on to the other segment of our show, and that's all about you, Zach. It's our guest spotlight. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what got you started?
Yeah. So actually originally from Ohio, so funny enough. And then, moved around a lot and then, moved to Carolina in North Carolina in 1997, right when the team moved down from Hartford. My first actual Hurricanes game was in the preseason. It was against the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. It was the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim when they were still that team in 97. So it's actually kind of fun how that worked out. And yeah, just, grew up, watching the Hurricanes, also the Blackhawks too, playing video games and logos and collecting hockey cards and stuff like that. I think my favorite set, I think it's the 91-92 NHL Pro sets where they had the logo in the top left corner, had the name was in a crease at the bottom of the card. Those were my absolute favorites. I always loved the NHL Pro sets. So yeah, just
nice.
Yeah, so collecting cards, playing video game, obviously, of course. NHL 94 on Super Nintendo, then going up to all the NHL games. I still think my favorite game outside of NHL 94, which is peak games, I think NHL 03 with Iggy on the cover, absolutely fantastic game. I love that one. That one's one. I mean, the soundtrack alone almost makes it the best. So, yeah. So yeah, I was actually at the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup when the Hurricanes beat the Oilers. So that was kind of fun to see, see him do it in person, see Rod Brind'Amour lift the cup, and all that. And yeah, then eventually just got into writing. Probably around 21, started doing some AHL coverage. Covered the Charlotte Checkers for a little bit, and then got my break with the Hockey Writers, and been a credentialed writer there since September of 23. Going to games as press and covering the team and stuff like that. And then surprisingly enough, I think beginning of March, middle of March, Locked On, just hit me, was like, hey, we were looking for a host. Would you be interested? And lo and behold, since since April 8th was my first episode on the pod, and ever since then, just been putting out daily content 5 days a week covering the Carolina Hurricanes. So yeah, it's definitely been a whirlwind experience since September of 23, being able to go from AHL stuff to hockey, and nothing but hockey, especially in the NHL level covering in the Canes. But it's been great. It's just I've been loving everything I've been doing. So yeah, it's been a fun.
It's got to be like a dream job. Yeah, I know for me it would be like a dream job.
Oh yeah, because the funny thing is I have a normal day job outside of this too. So I have like a day job, and then I do the writing, and then I also do the podcasting on top of that too. So yeah, I'm hoping that one of the side gigs becomes the main thing. So just biding time until it works out. But yeah, it's definitely a dream job to be like, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I cover hockey for as credentialed press and a podcaster, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of busy nights, a lot of busy months, but just with the right support system, it's been working out great. And I already got a couple games circled here soon to head back up to Raleigh and cover some games in person. So definitely looking forward to that. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a fun run.
So I got a couple questions here for you.
Okay.
And chat, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop in and I'll share it with Zach. But what made you root for the Hurricanes?
Yeah. So like I said, we moved down to Raleigh in '97, right when the team came down from Hartford. Like I said, originally being from Ohio, more like towards the Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio. Jackets didn't really exist for another few years after that. I didn't really have. I mean, I kind of like the Ducks just because the Mighty Duck movies when they were first coming out and stuff like that from Disney. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, cool. It's hockey, it's kids, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, we just started. Me and my dad started going to games together, and it was just kind of a natural thing because we lived like 30 minutes from the arena, so we would go to a bunch of games every year, and then of course going to the Stanley Cup and 06 and stuff like that too. Of course, I also have the Hawks as my other team as well because just growing. I grew up with both of those teams since I was like 6 years old. One East, one West. I know there's some taboo on it, or it doesn't really matter if it's from two different conferences, but yeah. It just kind of worked out like that. But for the Hurricanes, it just worked out naturally. They're like, hey, we moved the same year, and there you go. It just kind of worked itself out, essentially.
It's awesome. Goes, I had a question for you. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite Canes jersey?
Ooh, well, I will say the Stanley Cup ones from 06, from 05, 06 are absolutely my favorites. But I do like how they brought back the 25th anniversaries, where they kind of modernized that jersey and brought that back. Because for me, that's like my childhood, seeing the 05, 06 jersey. So when they did the 25th, I think they absolutely nailed it. It's like, because I'm actually looking at it right now, it's like basically picture perfect to the originals. They brought back the one warning flag on the sleeve, on the shoulders. The original fonts back. Because when you think of Hurricanes, I know they got the new Slaker ones, but the block fonts from 05, 06 are just unmatched. Like what number that is based on the jersey. And I will say an honorable mention. I do love our stadium jerseys that we did for the stadium series against the Capitals. When I was actually at that I was there too for that game. Freeze my butt off, but worth it though. Worth it. But I would say, I say the stadium series is an honorable mention because it's so sleek with like the kind of like the blackout Hurricanes logo on the front. Yeah, they did a good job with that. But yeah, I would definitely say the 05, 06s for sure. But that 25th anniversary kind of blends it perfectly with those. So yeah, you can't go wrong with the 25th anniversary jerseys for the Hurricanes.
So one question I ask all my guests, and if a lot of them find it hard, and I've only had 2 goalies picked for this, is what's your Mount Rushmore of players, new or old? It doesn't have to be Hurricanes, it could be all NHL, but what is your Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore for the Hurricanes? Ooh.
Or for all of NHL, whichever you prefer.
You know what? Actually, I'll do one better. I'll do both. I'll do NHL and for the Hurricanes, just for the fun of it. Hurricanes, obviously Rod Brind'Amour kind of, speaks name for itself. He's been here since 2000. Kind of just makes sense. Captain, now head coach. A lot of success everywhere he's been with the Hurricanes. So definitely Rod Brind'Amour. Gotta go with Cam Ward. I know the kind of the back end of his career with the Hurricanes wasn't great, but I mean the roster was kind of not great to begin with. So you really can't put blame on him. But I mean Cam Ward, the save against Pisani in Game 7 with the chicken wing save, absolutely highlight reel-esque. You love to see it. I say when it's all said and done, I think Jacob Slavin is going to be the defenseman for probably the best defenseman for the Hurricanes. I know you got Glenn Wesley who's kind of retiring now. They did have Paul Coffey for a little bit, so they also have got some names on there. Wallin, Tim Gleason, and stuff like that. But I think Jacob Slavin is probably the greatest defenseman for the Hurricanes of all time, in my opinion. And honorable mention to Seth Jarvis, because I think he's going to have a really great career. I mean, here he's got his bag, but I'd say right now Sebastian Aho might be the fourth, just because of the fact of what he's already done, setting power play points records, playoff records, shorthanded. He's going to probably going to hold a lot of records, but when it's all said and done, I would definitely say probably Sebastian Aho will be my fourth, along with, Slavin, Brendan Moore, and then Cam Ward for the Hurricanes. Now, all time. Oh, this is where it's going to get interesting for sure. Obviously, Gretzky. I mean, duh, no brainer, automatic. See, I know goalies. I know everyone probably put like Waugh or Brodeur and stuff like that, but Dominic Hasek.
Nice.
That's my goalie, man. Like, dude, that was just the way, like, as a kid, like, I always watched his highlights because the fact of just all the flailing around that he did and all the crazy saves. You got to appreciate the Dominator. I mean, awesome nickname. You got to, the fact that with him in the Goathead jersey, just bar none, fantastic. They should have won. I still say they should have won the Cup in '99 against Dallas, but that's a different story for another time. So gotta go Gretz, gotta go Dominic Hasek, Mario Lemieux. I mean, duh, another no-brainer as well. Defense. See, with defense, there's so many good names. Like, so I definitely want to put a defenseman there. I mean, you got Bobby Orr, you got Bork, you got Coffey. I mean, there's so many good ones, but I'll say Ray Bork. I think he's just the way his offensive game was so good, and the fact that it took him till win that cup with Colorado before he called it all said and done. But, I mean, you're talking about a guy who was really good offensively. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Borky. So I'll go with Ray Bork as my number 4 with Lemieux, Gretz, and Hasek. So I know it's probably a lot different than the normal ones, but you know what? Though, it's you gotta give us a love to some of those guys who just done it for so long, and just the era they did it into. It's so great. I mean, plus, honorable mentions to the Islanders guys, Bossy and all of them. Those 80s Islanders teams are just absolutely nasty for the guys on those rosters.
They were, but that's a great first person to bring up Dominic Hasek on their Mount Rushmore, which is great because I thought he was one of the best goalies.
Oh yeah. Definitely a name that I think should, everyone talks about Brodeur and Waugh and stuff like that, but come on, man, you got to talk about Hasek a little bit. Just cups wise, and wasn't really there like the other two, but man, talk about a guy who steals games. You love to see it too. And I would say goalies for best masks, can't go wrong with Eddie Belfour. Those Eddie the Eagle helmets are just so clean. I mean, oh my goodness. And the fact he did it everywhere too. Blackhawks, Stars, Leafs, if you give me a Mount Rushmore of goalie masks, just of guys with their mask, oh my goodness, you're talking an insane list of just amazing goalies like Felix the Cat Potvin, so good.
A quick question here from Michael or Matthew. Do you like Oasis?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if we're talking Wonderwall, I guess. I like them. Would they be my automatic go-to to listen on the radio? Probably not. But if they come on, I'll give them a listen. But I like them fine. I don't have an issue with them.
All right. Next question for you is favorite Canes player and why?
Current or all time? Or are we going for both on this one too?
You can pick if you want to do current or if you want to do all time. Your favorite, just your general favorite Canes player and why?
Well, all time. Brad Burnhamore. What more can you ask out of a guy who loved the game and did it with so much respect and just the dynamic they did? He's not a guy who's gonna put up you're talking guys in the 2000s who are just putting up points on points on points. But the fact that he went back to Belkin the Selkies, face-off specialist, I mean, just brought it every night. Honestly, now he could probably still throw in some pads and jump over the boards and get you a couple goals and a couple fights. But I think it's just the way the Rod Brind'Amour brought it. I think as a kid, like just seeing him, like I think I was 9 when he joined the Canes. So I think I kind of gravitated towards just the fact of his play. Like he brought it every night, 100% every time. So yeah, it's just Rod is like the ultimate. Yeah, I just can't go wrong with that. And even now, I mean, I'd say Jacob Slavin, just the way he plays. I mean, you're talking about one of the cleanest guys where you're talking. Like, I think he hasn't had a double-digit penalty minute season in, I don't know, like 5 seasons now. Like, it's always 8, 8, 8, 8, 2. Like, the one year he had 2 penalty minutes was that 57-game season for that silo year. It was a delay of game puck over glass penalty. That's his only penalty was the delay of game. It's like he was like a delay of game away from having 0. Like, it's just the way his brain works and his hockey IQ is so fantastic. Definitely one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL. Just the way he plays the game, he does it so clean. And he's not gonna put up a lot of points, but you're gonna get shut down every night. And he doesn't really get in guys' faces either. So yeah, just that mentality of just bringing it every night and letting his game talk and basically being able to be available when necessary. King Earl and Jacob Slavin. So yeah, definitely my current is him, and of course all time, I mean, obviously Rod Brind'Amour.
Nice. Those are great answers.
Yeah.
Rod Brind'Amour to me is Mr. Hurricane.
Yeah. Like name another guy who's the face of a franchise as a player and then as a coach. I mean, yeah, we got Ronnie Francis retired. Yeah, you got Glenn Wesley. You've had some other names. We had Keith Primo for a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if you're talking like face of all time, yeah, it's probably Brind'Amour. Like 24. Now you're going on to year 25. I think it's January 18th or so. I know this month it'll be 25 years since he got traded from the Flyers. So yeah, we're talking a quarter century of Rod Brind'Amour in Carolina in some aspect. So yeah,
definitely. So here's a good question for you. Thoughts on who the Canes should target at the trade deadline?
Oh geez. I know a lot of people keep saying goaltending, but I think goaltending is fine. I mean, Frederick Anderson is going to be back here very soon. And I mean, Pierre Kachek has been playing great. I mean, he just had 26 save performers against the Panthers last night. So it's not going to be a goalie. I could say it's going to be more of like depth more than anything else. Probably like a center or maybe an extra winger. I don't see them going for a defense. I honestly wouldn't be upset if they go for Ryan Donato of the Blackhawks. I love his game. He's a good center, also plays wing. I think it's like 27, I believe, 27 or 28. But I like Ryan Donato's game. I think he does really well. I would love for them to go for Nikolai Ehlers, but Winnipeg's not giving him up. But that would be a great addition to the top 6. Like, hey, you want another winger? Here you go. I would say more of a realistic one. I would definitely say probably Ryan Donato. I think he'd be a great addition, even for just a short stint, just to give him a shot and see what you can do. So yeah, I would love if we'd be able to bring him in some way.
Nice. Next question for you is a prospect on the Canes you can't wait to see.
Well, I'm not going to see Alexander Nikishin because that's kind of like a cop-out, really easy answer to go with. Like, oh, yeah, Nikishin because he's like the guy. I would definitely say I say Bradley Neto just because of the fact that because you saw what he did in Maine. Playing really well at the Wolves right now in the AHL in Chicago, and you just saw what he did in the World Juniors too. I mean, he's definitely someone who's got that already NHL elite shot. It's just kind of figuring everything else around his game. But I mean, like I said, you put up over 100 points in Penticton with your brother. You go to Maine. You like I said, get the most points, goals, assists for the first time of any Maine player in a long time since the Hurricanes won the Cup essentially. So just the way his game is and how mature he is as a young kid like that, I definitely see Bradley Neto as the one I'm definitely most excited for seeing.
Okay. And here's a great one that will tie in really well for you is your thoughts on Rod Brind'Amour.
I mean, what more can you say about the guy? I mean, just being able to come in as a player, becoming an alternate captain, and comes in as a captain, leads the team to a Stanley Cup. Then he calls it a career, automatic retire his jersey because obviously, then becomes an assistant and development coach for the Hurricanes in 2011. Eventually makes it to the head coach in May of 2018, and then you're looking at 6 straight playoff appearances, and this for a team that missed the playoffs is in 10 years is crazy for the fact that you miss it for that many seasons. He comes in year 1, Eastern Conference final appearance in 2019. And then, like I said, now you're on a 6-year run of making the playoffs, 6 straight years of winning the first round. Him and like one other coach, I forget who it was, that of all time, your first 6 seasons as coach won the first round. Another Eastern Conference final appearance in 2023 against against Bobrovsky and the Panthers, which is still an insane run to think about. 3 straight division titles, and that's including the Discover Central Division of that silo season, and then back-to-back Metros. And just the way he's like be able to hit the culture he's built in Carolina, for the fact that everyone loves to be there, it's just, you're talking about a guy who's, like I said, we talked about earlier, he's the face of a franchise, someone who's really changed the culture in Carolina, going from a player to the coach, and then being able to bring all the guys that are good character guys who will. They work hard for Rod Brind'Amour, and that's what they want to do, because they know if they let him down, then that's a really big disappointment. So, and just the fact of how much the front office loves him too, is the fact that they bring him in a lot of the decisions for how this roster, how he wants the roster to be. So, just being able to get the respect, the love, the admiration, and just him being that guy of a culture for going on 25 years now. Yeah, like Rod Brind'Amour is definitely a one of one, and he's also the fastest coach to 300 wins in 488 games, and that's beating out Bruce Boudreau, John Cooper, Dan Bilesma, and Tom McClellan. Like, that really says something for the fact of how much he's won in Carolina, which at that time when he won his 300th game was I think it was a 617 win percentage. So yeah, outside of winning a Stanley Cup as a head coach, I think he's already probably the best head coach in Hurricanes history, and we've only had 5 total. So yeah.
And then he's one of those coaches who could bench press more than you.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people around the organizations, they are afraid to go in the locker room and on a beach with him because he is still absolutely ripped from what I've been told. And like I said, he could probably still jump over the boards right now, probably get a tuck or two, get you an assist, and probably fight you just for funs and giggles at that point. That's just how legit Rod Brind'Amour is. And he can't stand still. He cannot stand still.
To me, he is probably one of the best player coaches because he's been there, done that, and he can relate to the guys of what they're going through and everything like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you're talking about a player's coach and someone who's been there, done that, and is able to find a way to talk to you as a player and also as a person, and Seth Jarvis and a lot of the young guys have said they can go to Rod Brind'Amour and pick his brain, and he's always available to help them and coach them up. So yeah. Talk about a culture guy who can set it the right way. Yeah, there's no one better than Brind'Amour to be a culture setter as a head coach.
Definitely. Next question for you is favorite Canes game you've seen or favorite Canes moment?
Automatic answer for every time I get this question, seeing them winning the Stanley Cup in 06 in person. Last row of the stadium. The thing is, we stood the entire time. Like, the only time we sat was intermissions. Other than that, once that puck was dropped for the period, it doesn't matter if it was teammate timeouts or whatever it was, like, no one sat that entire game. Like, I've been to Daytona 500s, I've been to Super Bowls. Game 7 of that 06 Cup final and seeing Rod Brind'Amour lift the cup and seeing my team win it, bar none, nothing's going to touch that. In terms of sports wise, nothing's going to touch that. Nice.
Another question for you is, do you have any other hobbies? Like, do you collect sports cards? Anything like that?
Sports cards, no. If it's Hurricanes ones, I might try to go for those ones. I'm definitely trying to get more of like the NHL Pro sets. Okay, so I love those 91, 92s. I know 90, 91's another set. I don't know if they did 92, 93s, but I definitely want to find those at some point. I just want to, those would be the ones I would love to get, as more of those pro sets. Other than that, I play video games when I get a chance. I got the NHL, the most recent NHL game, whenever it was out. Baldur's Gate 3. Stuff like that. I like to play video games when I get a break and stuff like that. Mostly read a lot of sports books, science fiction books, stuff like that. Maybe some fantasy. Just be able to take some time to kick back and read some books when I get a chance, and just the normal watch TV. Shoresy, Letterkenny, Bob's Burgers, stuff like that. Get to see the movies when I get a chance. So yeah, also I'm a very big Dungeons and Dragons player. So actually, me and my buddies,
nice.
Yeah, all my buddies. I have some. I'm with this group that we play online. A couple of them are in Calgary, a lot of them are in Toronto. But yeah, I'm the only American in our entire group of D&D players. Everyone else is in Canada, but at least once a week we play about 3 hours of just one session. And yeah, we play Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, that's I love
one
doing
of our
that.
viewers here. Paul in the 619 is a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan.
Fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I watch Dimension 20 when I get a chance with Brendan Lee Mulligan and those guys. Of course, my favorite group to watch is Critical Role. So I'm actually in the middle of their third campaign right now. I think on episode 113. I think they just did 118 last night. So yeah, I'm trying to catch up on that. But I'm a big Critical Role fan, and yeah, D&D. That's like my if I was picking a number one hobby, that's my go-to. All right, time to shut the brain off for a while, go and play some Dungeons and Dragons for about 3 hours. That's always a good time.
Nice. Jay's next had a question. Do you read a lot of Beckett magazines?
I try to when I get a chance. I really like Beckett. I also read the Hockey News when I get a chance as well. The Hockey News is mainly for the yearbooks when they usually come out before the season starts, just because it's easy to get projections, rosters, stuff like that. But yeah, I like Beckett's. I like to check them out a little bit. So, but yeah, I definitely give them a read here and there when I get a chance. Yeah, it's also kind of surprising. It's kind of hard to find some of them down here, especially the hockey editions where I'm at. It's a lot of football, so finding hockey ones are a little bit. Hockey ones a little bit tougher to find, but if sometimes I have to just get them on the internet and get them shipped.
And Paul chimed in, "What Dungeons and Dragons? Awesome!"
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, dude. Dungeons and Dragons is so good. Yeah, I played it in college. Didn't find a group for a little while. Then a buddy of mine who's Calgary Flames fan, just kind of worked out to where we talked for a little bit. They were looking for another guy to join, and yeah, it's kind of just worked out, and I've been playing with them since March of 22, I believe. So yeah, so almost going on 3 years being with those guys. Yeah, and honestly, totally cool being the only American because we get to have some fun with it. So it works out totally fine. Yeah.
So next question, you already answered it, but other than Chicago, do you like any other teams from any other sports or?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do like like the Hurricanes. I do like the Hawks. I do have a soft spot for the Jackets as well, just because it's my original home state team. So yes, I keep up with them. Zach Werenski, I love Zach Werenski. He's my favorite Jackets player. But yeah, I like them. In terms of other sports, NC State for college football, Ohio University, the Bobcats. Baseball, Cleveland Guardians. Of course, they were the Indians. Name changed and all that. So, yeah, I grew up a big baseball kid too, outside of hockey. NFL, I mean, not so much, just because of being from Cleveland and the Browns absolutely stink. So I've not really cared about them in a long time, but I did kind of pick up the Panthers as a second, just because we used to live in Charlotte. We used to go to games as a kid when we were down there for a little bit. Big soccer fan though too. I love Fulham from the Premier League, FC Köln from the Bundesliga. So yeah, I get to watch a little bit of soccer too. So I try to get as much of that as I can too. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
nice. So good friend of mine. I don't know if you know him, but Neil Filipino.
Oh, yeah, from Devil State of Mine. Yeah, great guy. Yeah, I do love
he had a good little rant on, and I said I should ask Zach this. Are the Canes and Devils new rivals now?
Honestly, I would say probably since that playoff, I think it was at round 2 a couple of years back. Yeah, I would definitely see these two teams really don't like each other. And also, it's funny too, the fact that you got 4 former Hurricanes on the Devils now. We don't really worry about Eric Holla. Holla can just holler his way back to wherever his issue. I mean, he's whatever to me. He's just that guy. He wants to be a heel, fine, whatever. But yeah, I would definitely say Hurricanes, Devils definitely are not fans of each other. Same for Hurricanes, Rangers. Something about that tri-state area of those 3 teams, like even the Islanders fans don't like us. But yeah, I would definitely I did say Canes, Devils. Yeah, I would say pretty good rivalry is definitely brewing there for sure. 100%.
Yeah. Neil wanted me to ask that for you, just FYI.
You know what? I'm not really surprised. Neil's a good dude. I love talking. Yeah, because I know he's with THPN for the Hockey Podcast. So, yeah, great guy. Yeah, I definitely say that's a rivalry that's going to be very hate-filled, especially from this last game. When we had that back-to-back, over the last weekend of December. So, yeah.
Yeah, the
definitely
playoffs is
no
where,
love loss. No love loss there.
the playoffs is where new rivalries happen.
Yeah, most definitely for sure, especially with this new format of like, okay, we're just gonna throw the division guys together and see what happens. It's like, okay, cool. We'll see how this works out. So
for my viewers here, Zach, do you want to let us know where they can find you and on all your platforms you're available? I have your YouTube channel dropped, so I know a couple of them have already gone over and subscribed to you. But if you want to just tell us a little bit more about where we can find you and where we can look you up as well.
Yeah, sure. So I am on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. My personal is One True Zach. That's ONE True Zach over there. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes on Twitter as well, if you want to check that out. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I kind of try to post the same kind of things over there, so it's kind of more consistent on both sides. So I'm kind of over there, and of course on YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes. Thinking everyone's already subscribed already. I know we do 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. I know kind of in the off season we kind of go down to 3 a week, but yeah, we're Monday through Friday. You're going to get an episode and get to look at this face for 30 minutes trying to talk about Hurricanes hockey. It's kind of simple. Like I said, mainly just Twitter and Blue Sky, stuff like that. But yeah, One True Zach and then LO_Hurricanes on that side of things. So yeah.
Awesome. I have one question for you. I don't know if you have, but I know you're a writer, but have you ever had, what was your favorite interview?
Favorite interview. That's a good question, actually. It's always good to get the post-game stuff with Rod, just because you get some really insightful answers from him. But I actually say it wasn't Hurricanes related, but it was a special feature that I got to do for the Hockey Writers. And it was I actually got to interview Mike Monaco from ESPN. So it's like he has done some stuff with like AJ Malesko and Ardo Cal and Kevin Weeks and all them covering games. So I did a feature on him. And you got to learn, him growing up and, from, around the Boston area, grew up as a Bruins fan, went to Notre Dame, did a lot of, commentary for the Notre Dame hockey team, eventually moved over to Nesson, then came over to ESPN. He does pretty much all sports, like colleges and MLB and stuff like that. Still works for Nesson now, but of course he's been covering hockey for a little bit for ESPN. So yeah, being able to write for him, or write about him was actually pretty cool. Just be able to pick someone's brain of who's been there and done it. I think he's only 32, so yeah, pretty young guy who's a pretty young guy who's be able to build a career he has with ESPN. So yeah, talking to him was pretty awesome. So
yeah, I can imagine. See, like that would be my dream job because as a coach, I would love to hear what a coach has to say after a game, after either a loss or a big win. Because I know for me, what I'd have to say, and I'd like to hear from what another coach's perspective would be.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's always good. Yeah, especially when you have like a question for like a pregame, and then something happens in the actual game that you already talked about, and then you bring it up in the post game, you kind of get a cool little like, oh yeah, the thing we talked about kind of worked out. I will say that too, Jared Bednar of the Colorado Avalanche. I was able to get some questions for him because I went to both morning skates for those guys. Jared Bednar is actually he is a really nice guy. Pretty easy to talk to. Directly looks at you and gives you really sincere answers. Yeah, I'd say Jared Bednar of the Avalanche. Yeah, another really great guy to talk to as well. So yeah, can't go wrong with that as well. But yeah, being able to just pick their brains of like, what are you seeing, how is this working out and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to kind of being able to get that interaction with them.
Awesome. So Zach, I'm just gonna ask the chat. Anybody have a question for Zach before we wrap up here tonight? I want to say thank you for coming on and giving us your time to come here to talk Hurricanes hockey and just hockey in general, and even some Dungeons and Dragons for some of the viewers.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the invite because I know you asked me back in October to jump on, and of course getting recommended by, the guys over from Lockdown Minnesota Wild and the Avalanche and all that. Yeah, they're great guys over there. Yeah, like I said, I appreciate the invite. I'm always down to talk hockey because it's a passion that I love talking about. It's really fun to do that. And yeah, I mean Dungeons and Dragons, you really can't go wrong with that too. So yeah, it's nice people to kind of blend the two hobbies together sometimes when it's like, hey, look at that he likes them too. So yeah.
Definitely. I noticed you got a lot of memorabilia back there. Do you have one that's your favorite?
Oh, well, I know the stick is actually a game used Jacob Slavin stick actually, so that one's pretty cool. I do have this. I haven't really hung it up yet, but I want to get this done at some point. So it's one of those replica banners.
Oh, nice.
When they won the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I got the Cam Ward inductee banner that they gave out to a lot of the fans. Actually have the team picture from when they won the cup in 05-06. It's actually signed by, I think, Chad LaRose, Glenn Wesley, and a couple other guys too. So I do have some
awesome
stuff signed from the 05-06 team. Yeah, so a lot of great memorabilia. I got a lot of posters and DVDs of when them winning the cup, and of course a lot of the rally towels and stuff like that too. So yeah, it's a collection that's still growing and not going to get done anytime soon. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Zach, as it is a custom on the Hockey Stick Talk Nation, we let the guests close out the show as they would be closing out their own podcast or show.
Oh man, putting me on the spot. All right. All right. Well, hey, thank you for joining Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. I hope everyone enjoyed this Friday episode of the show. Hope everyone has a great Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And thank you all for coming. Thank you again, Zach, and everyone have a great Friday night. And we'll see you next Friday with our guest, Gil Martin from the New York Islanders.
Ooh, great guest. Love that dude. You're going to love Gil. He's a great guest. Good.
It's going to be a rivalry battle here, Islanders and Rangers, so this should be fun.
Ooh, there you go. That's going to be a fun one for sure. Yeah, no, Gil, awesome, dude. You're going to love it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Appreciate you all, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Later.